When we picture the year 2050, it's so easy to just imagine some vague, abstract sci-fi movie. But looking at the actual data we're exploring in today's explainer, the reality is wildly different. The future isn't a mystery. It's a highly scheduled series of concrete paradigm shifts, and they're literally starting right now. Today, we're mapping out this exact timeline. We're going to break down the specific milestones that will fundamentally rewrite how we live, work, and survive over the next couple of decades.
We really need to challenge our baseline assumptions here. If we look at just the next 10 years, we aren't guessing about what might happen. We're looking at concrete disruptions with scheduled milestones already marked on the calendar. We're in the execution phase of technologies and shifts that are already in motion. It's happening.
So let's dive right into Act 1, the end of the familiar, spanning from 2026 to 2033.
Okay, starting right around the corner in 2026, driverless robo-taxis are set to enter Europe for the first time. That's going to totally normalize autonomous urban transport. Then, in 2029, a 450-meter-long asteroid named Apophis is going to pass just 32,000 kilometers from Earth. To put that into perspective, that is actually closer to us than a lot of our own communications satellites. And get this, you'll be able to see it with the naked eye across Africa, Asia, and Europe. No telescope needed. Then, jumping to 2033, we're going to see the death of a legacy technology we all know. MasterCard is permanently eliminating the magnetic stripe from its credit cards. That 70-year-old piece of tech that literally paved the way for global commerce is finally being retired for biometrics and chips. The everyday things we're familiar with, they're fading fast. And it's not just our daily tech changing. We are taking monumental architectural leaps. Right now, the Burj Khalifa in Dubai reigns supreme at 828 meters. But by 2028, Saudi Arabia aims to complete the Jeddah Tower. This is a huge deal. It will be the first building in human history to break the 1-kilometer mark in height. Think about that. 165 floors, 59 elevators. It's going to absolutely dwarf what we currently consider the absolute peak of human engineering. But hey, it's not just concrete and steel. Our own biology is entering a completely new era. By 2029, polio, which is currently confined to just Afghanistan and Pakistan, is expected to be globally eradicated. That makes it only the second human disease wiped out by vaccines after smallpox. Amazing, right? But the real mind-bending threshold gets crossed in 2030 with regulated xenotransplants. We're talking about using genetically modified pig organs in human patients. And by 2034, we're anticipating the first lab-created 3D bioprinted organs. We are stepping into a true era of regenerative medicine.
Moving right along to Act 2, the accelerants of intelligence and energy. This covers 2030 to 2040.
Around 2030, we're expecting the arrival of error-tolerant quantum computers. Now, why does this matter so much? Because they'll be capable of solving in mere hours what would currently take years. Imagine trying to simulate super complex molecules to design a highly efficient new battery, or crafting a custom life-saving drug. The processing bottleneck we have right now completely disappears. This is going to create a massive, instantaneous ripple effect across logistics, chemistry, and even global finance. It's a total game changer.
Because of these massive shifts, entire global economies are frantically pivoting to prepare. Look at the Saudi Vision 2030 plan. Right now, non-oil exports make up about 25% of their GDP, but their target is 50%. This reveals a really stunning, somewhat hidden pattern. Some of the most oil-dependent nations on Earth are aggressively restructuring their entire economic foundations. Why? Because they know for sure that the global energy paradigm is fundamentally shifting right beneath their feet.
And the catalyst for that energy shift hinges on a staggering 10x milestone slated for 2035. This is all about the ITER experiment in France, which is the largest nuclear fusion project ever built. When they finally turn on that reactor, the goal is to multiply the energy injected into the plasma by 10. Unlocking nuclear fusion means opening the door to a nearly infinite, clean energy source, all without the long-term radioactive waste of traditional fission. It is literally the holy grail of power generation.
But here's the thing. Infinite energy needs to be paired with infinite problem solving. And that brings us to the ultimate disruptor of the 2030s, artificial general intelligence, or AGI. Let's be clear, AGI isn't just a really smart chatbot. It's an intelligence capable of solving new problems, reasoning, planning, and adapting exactly as a competent human would across multiple completely different domains, all without needing to be reprogrammed. This is where expectations completely collapse. Just a few years ago, before the massive boom in large language models, experts estimated we wouldn't see AGI until around 2060. Now, the accelerated pace has pushed that estimate forward to as early as 2028. We are talking about a 32-year leap in expectations happening virtually overnight. An intelligence that rivals human capability could actually arrive before the end of this decade. That is huge.
Which leaves us directly into Act 3, planetary tipping points. This spans the 2040s up to 2050.
On one hand, humanity is going to be executing some truly monumental feats of engineering during this time. By 2040, we could see the completion of the Gibraltar Tunnel, which would physically connect the continents of Europe and Africa under the sea. Up in space, we expect to see permanent ice mining facilities on the Moon's south pole, paving the way for sustained lunar resource exploitation. And back down on Earth, 2050 marks the completion of the Great Green Wall of China, a 4,500-kilometer barrier made of billions of planted trees designed to literally halt desertification.
But we have to contrast those incredible engineering victories with this dark, unavoidable reality. By 2050, the Amazon could be on the verge of total collapse. Up to half of its surface could be degraded by extreme heat, drought, and deforestation. And here is the terrifying tipping point. Parts of the Amazon are already transitioning into a net CO2 emitter, meaning the very lungs of our planet could start exhaling poison instead of oxygen. If this trend continues, the damage becomes completely irreversible. And that brings us to our final section, Act 4, the 2050 Human Paradox. On paper, by the time we hit 2050, humanity is doing incredibly well. Extreme poverty, which is defined as living on less than $3 a day, is projected to plummet from 10% down to just 2%. Internet access leaps from 70% to 90%, and 70% of a nearly 10 billion person population will live in cities. We are going to be vastly richer, vastly more connected, and highly urbanized. Yet, there's a heavy physical cost to all this progress. By 2050, sea levels will have risen between 25 and 30 centimeters. For massive cities like Miami or Mumbai, this means building gigantic, super expensive seawalls. But for low-lying nations like Tuvalu, the Maldives, and the Marshall Islands, where the highest natural altitude is barely 5 meters, this isn't just an infrastructure problem. It's an existential threat. They are quite literally racing against the tide.
But the true paradox of 2050 isn't just environmental, it's demographic. Our global population is aging at a staggering rate. In 2024, about 1 in 10 people were over the age of 65. By 2050, that ratio jumps to 1 in 6. Now sure, we're healthier, our life expectancy is rising to 78 years, and infant mortality is dropping. But this creates a massive, extremely top-heavy society.
This brings us to a really critical question, posed directly by the data we're looking at. Who will sustain the system when more people are receiving income than working? This right here is the demographic cliff. Our global pension systems, our healthcare infrastructure, our entire labor market, they all rely on a wide base of young workers supporting an older generation. By 2050, that base simply won't exist in the numbers we need. We are fundamentally running out of human workers to sustain our progress. But remember that timeline collapse we discussed earlier? That accelerated, breakneck sprint toward artificial general intelligence? Well, that is the systemic solution. The pieces of the puzzle come together right here. Accelerated AI and advanced robotics aren't just going to be cool gadgets for the year 2050. They are the absolute required infrastructure stepping in to fill a massive, civilization-threatening labor void. They might literally be the only way to keep the world running when human demographics fail us.
Which leaves us with this final, totally mind-bending thought to ponder as we wrap up this explainer. If AI and robotics must take over the labor force simply to keep society functioning, what if, in the future, no one has to work at all?